All hail Queen Rhaenyra, I guess. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. The second episode of season 3 of House of the Dragon is here, and it's a doozy. I will say this. In these 8 episodes that this season is just doing, they are speeding things along and getting to the point of things much faster than I think any of the other two seasons have done. And I am here for it. This season, as the series has pretty much been about Alicent and Rhaenyra, them growing up, them having kids, and these kids sort of all being heirs or wanting the throne in some form or a fashion. Rhaenyra saying she has a claim for the throne. And then at the end of season 2, it seemed like they were sort of coming back together, like, all right, mistake was made. My bad. Let me try to fix this. And at the very least, let me get the one daughter that is still has some good in her out of this so we can make a life for ourselves and you can get what it is that you want, Rhaenyra. And then this episode happens and it's going to pretty much throw dirt in any sort of negotiations or goodwill that the two of them had for each other immediately. But not first. Alicent is full steam ahead with the plan. And so we pick up with this episode at the end of the last where we saw Jace being killed by arrows once he fell off of his dragon. Now, we see a shot underwater of his body floating, a couple of other bodies going around, but the battle is still sort of wrapping up as the dragons basically, they've won. At what cost? But they've won. And so they take Jace's body back to Rhaenyra in a procession, and as you would expect, she has a breakdown, seeing her child dead. And she's talking to him, originally kind of just asking him what, obviously he's not going to respond, but she's asking him, like, what did you do? What did you do? Knowing that you put this, the reason you're in this spot, kid, is because you wouldn't listen to me and you did this. And she's having a breakdown in front of her council, in front of a couple of people there. And one of her guards, her knights, tries to take her off of him. It's like, hey, get yourself together. She pushes him away. And he feels a little bit of guilt for it too, because he's the one who listened to Jason, locked him into that room, and so he's willing to give up his life. And she's like, "Well, what good does that do? That doesn't bring back my son. It just cost me another man down on my team. So stop." No, but she's in a bad way, and she kind of goes into a bit of a self-imposed seclusion. We see that the Valerian are continuing to look for Corlys's body again because we didn't see him actually take a death wound before he fell in the water. They're of the belief that he is alive. So Alan is by boat taking the rest of the Valerian ships that are there to go find him, as well as Adam is looking above in air with his dragon. And then we see Rhaena going to Lady Jane Eyre and being like, hey, so I may have messed up a bit and shit's real hot out here for me. So can I get some asylum to just kind of be at one? And Lady Jane is kind of like, nah, because the word is out there that somebody on a dragon, specifically Sheep Stealer, killed the queen's kid. I'm going to assume that's you. And so I'm not bringing you back in here. And she's like, she's kind of like, well, you're the one who put me on this path of the dragon. Like, don't, no, don't put my name. I'm not in any of this. This is all you, kid. You did this. So Godspeed, good luck, but I'm not taking you in. So then we see Damon and a section of the Blacks military that he's put together celebrating. They're getting their love on. They're happy. They're drinking their wine. They're having fun. They're having a great time. Then the note comes from Rhaenyra to tell them what has occurred back at home and that Jace is dead. And so he gives that note to everyone. And it's like, look, you guys continue on to where the Iron Throne is, the Red Keep, and I'm going to make my way back to Rhaenyra. I will meet you guys there and prepare for us to be there to abscond upon the castle. Now, I will say this. This season has done a much better job. It kind of reminds me of season 5 and 6 of Game of Thrones, where we're not going to spend time showing people traveling or getting to the point. We're just going to get to that point. Like it's the Zelda warp speed point where we're like, oh no, we ain't got time to burn of saying, how many days is it going to take so Damon to get back to here or in the battle to get here. It's like, nope, we're just going to make it happen. So I appreciate that. I know some people may not like the speed as to which this is going, but I'm all for it. We see a nice little familial moment, some somewhat incestual moment, but that's Game of Thrones. What do you expect? Between Alan, Adam, Bela, and Corlys, they all sort of regroup. They find Corlys's body. He's fine. He's a bit downtrodden in the fact that he lost his boat. Like that was his vessel. And he's like, I think he says something to the fact that this is a victory. I hope I never win again. Like I hope I never see another, which is a wild thing to say considering you're still alive, as is all of the family that you personally have. But this is a one moment where we get to see sort of an upside in this episode where you get to see them sort of rejoin together. And in this moment, Corlys gives the familial name to both Alan and Adam. And so that sort of brings them all together. There's a respect happening there. Also with Bela sort of extended to Bela as well. Amidst all the chaos that's kind of happening, Lars and Aegon are able to break free and escape. And in their escape, Aegon decides to head towards Red Rock, where he was originally injured, to go reconnect and see Sir Cole. Sir Cole is there with his men, and that's where he sort of positioned them. He's like, all right, cool, I'm going to go there and find people that will back me up and at least protect me in all of this. However, with the way that everything happens, we see later Cole's not there because when Aemon is making his way over to Harrenhal, they take off. And so Lars and Aegon are going to get there, and no one is there anymore. Back at the Red Keep, Alicent is doing her best Iago impression and sort of working the scheme in the background to make sure that when Rhaenyra arrives, she has safe passage into the Red Keep. And she has a conversation with the city guard first to sort of let them know what is happening and if certain things were to go a certain way, which side they would be on. And it sort of seems like she has at least them to back her up. This place doesn't hold secrets well, and so the word sort of starts getting out there that Alicent may be doing something that's not on the up and up. Now that the plan's afoot, she goes back to her quarters to start collecting things and to go eventually go collect Helena. However, she is stopped by Lord Jasper, who is kind of on to what it is that she's doing. And because he's on to it, he feels like this is a good time to get a piece of something that he's apparently has wanted for quite some time. And he tries to assault sexually assault Alicent. She's eventually saved by her by one of her guards, but he also is like, "What are you doing? Like something we are aware, like something is happening, and we don't know what you're up to." But between being delayed by Aemond to finally get him to go out of here, and then this mess with Jasper, she's just behind schedule on everything that she needs to do to sort of get out of the keep in time before Rhaenyra arrives. Back with Daemon, it's consistently, this is a weird thing that Daemon's done in this episode, and I feel like it's going to come back to bite him in the butt. But he has consistently been dismissive to anything that Rhaenyra has put into place while he was gone, as well as the people who've sort of helped him along his way. So Alice, the witch that kind of has aided him in his quest to see what it is that he needs to be doing, kind of dismisses her because all she wants is like, hey, look, can you just help me get Harrenhal? Like, that's all I want. And he's like, nah, I don't think I will. Okay. And then he takes off, heads back to Rhaenyra, and then there he starts speaking ill to Ulf and Hugh. And granted, they present themselves as if they're equals to Daemon, and Daemon's like, real quick, nah, that's not it. But he continuously just belittles them, and I eventually think that is going to come to bite him in the butt when you have people who are supposed to be having your back and having your protection, that they're not fully behind you. Then I'm like, oh, well, I don't care. He's going to treat me like crap. I don't care if this person gets killed or whatnot. It's going to affect him at some point in time. Not here. So Daemon arrives at Rhaenyra's bedside, and she says, look, I don't know who it was. No one can kind of tell who the writer was, but Sheep Stealer was the dragon that was present that caused my baby to be killed. I need you to find out who that writer was and kill them. We as an audience know who that is. It's his daughter. So that's going to become a whole thing when that happens. But Damon does bring up, like, hey, before we get into any of that, I do want to let you know that Aemon has left the keep with Vhagar. And she kind of goes a little bit delirious in the moment, like, oh, of course, now that all of my kids, all the kids that were under my bosom, under my dress all that time, um, are dead. And now I get to go just sit on a throne. Like, what's the point of it all, essentially? And Damon has to kind of give her the rah-rah speech, like, hey, do you just want your kids to die in vain? Because that's what's going to happen if you don't do this. And it's very much, at this point, Rhaena is very weak and very malleable to ideas and listening to Damon. But Damon is like, no, we got to keep the path. You need to be on that throne. Part of it is because the witch showed him that that's what he's supposed to be doing. So he's steadfast into it. But he's like, no, you got to get your butt up and we got to roll. We got to roll now. Now is the time to strike the fire. So he gets her up and they start making their way towards the Red Keep. As they're leaving, Damon does his thing to the dragon seeds again, Ulf and Hugh, and kind of just like bemoans, belittles them, puts his finger in their head and be like, hey, this isn't a time for you to have your own thoughts. You don't get to think. Stop thinking. I need you guys to run wide while Rhaena and I are going straight. Take your positions, hold there, and we will let you know when it is time to attack, because we're eventually, once Vhagar starts returning, we're going to need you guys to be in position. Just listen to my rule. Like, listen to me. And they're like, okay. But you can tell that the way that he's just kind of like poking him, it's not going to work out, man. You are going the wrong way about getting some sort of camaraderie and people on your team. Alicent goes to collect Helena. Helena does have an important line. I think she says something like, this is strange. This isn't the season for this, while she's looking at the caterpillar growing on a leaf. I feel like that line, because she has been so important as far as she's the one person who has like some magical, the witch too, but some magical, she can prognosticate and see into the future a little bit. I feel like that ties in more to than just what the caterpillar is doing. But that being said, she collects Helena. They start making their way out, and Helena's like, "What's going on?" And Alicent sort of breaks down like, "Hey, Rhaenyra's returning," and she says like, "I got that story wrong." And Helena's like, "Well, you said that's what you heard." It's like, "Yeah, but I misheard it, and I think Rhaenyra needs to have this." And then she sort of speaks to Helena's part, like, you said that you were the happiest before this whole Greens thing. Is that true? And she's like, yeah, I kind of just want to do some chickens. Like, cool. Then let's go make that happen. Let's go ahead and put you back on that path, because I've done a disservice to all of us in this. And so she goes up to the tower, because right now Helena is the de facto queen of the Red Keep, because Aegon is gone and Aemond is gone. And so it's Helena's kingdom. And she goes to the tower and says, hey, Queen Helena has said, if we see any dragons, if we see Rhaenyra and them, let them pass. And they're all kind of like, wait, what? No, that sounds insane. And Helena's like, no, I don't want to hurt any animals anymore. Which that statement does fall in line with Helena's personality. And they're like, oh, okay, sure. I mean, you are the queen, so we're going to go with that. But you can tell that Sir Frederick is not about the plans that are happening. So even if they do what it is that she's asking, you can tell that there's going to be people within the Red Keep that don't quite agree with that. And we get there. Meanwhile, Aemond arrives at Harrenhal and dispatches of everyone, including like everyone. And none of them are armed. Some are armed to try to stop him, but he comes in blazing with Vhagar, burning people down. And then when he gets to the actual royal court, he stabs them all down without them actually having any sort of weapon. Like, he is not doing things on the up and up. But he does get wounded. And in his wounded, he falls at the foot of Alice, the witch, who, again, I feel like the way that Damon treated her when he left is going to come back to bite him in the butt, because I feel like she is now going to be like, hey, can you give me Harrenhal, Aemon? And if so, I'm going to get you back on your feet, get you back going, and I'm going to tell you what it is that they are planning and who Damon truly is. and we can work together as long as I get this. So I think there's just some missteps that have occurred on not Rhaenyra's part so much, more so the Daemon that is going to cause problems for Rhaenyra as this goes along. So Daemon and Rhaenyra arrive at the Red Keep, and they are allowed to pass. Their dragons land on towers. Everything seems to be going according to plan. People are freaked out. People at the Red Keep are running like, what is happening? Um, and then they dismount their dragons and they start going through the first door. And like in the courtyard, everybody takes a knee, drops their swords. No one is attacking them. And Rhaenyra's like, Alicent is keeping her word. Like she's doing what she said she was going to do. And Daemon's like, hold on, let's see what happens on the other side of the door. And they go in, and there are defectors. There are people who are like, nah, we're not going with whatever it is that Alicent and Helena are setting up. And they try to attack. But Daemon is really good at what he does, and he dispatches of everyone. He cleans house. They start making their way, cleaning the house left and right, making his way, and then they get to the throne. Get to the doorway with the throne. Looks like it's a clear path, and she's like, "All right, this is it." And she makes her way to the throne, and then they are barricaded. The throne is barricaded by about 15 to 20 guards. They're like, "Nah, you're not about to get through." To the point where Rhaenyra pulls out her sword. They kind of laugh at her, like, "Oh, cool, you're going to do something? Like, we don't believe you." And then all of a sudden, the Night Watch, the guards that City Watch is what they've been called now, the Golden City Watch folks, but they were originally the Night Watch that Daemon manned, and so they give their fidelity to Queen Rhaenyra and to Daemon, forcing the guards to put their swords down or be taken prisoner. So the throne's hers, but there is an order of business that she needs to do first. She has to remove or kill Aegon or Aemon, one of the two of them. But Aegon's the one that everybody knows as the true king. And so the order is to bring Aegon to her. But Aegon's nowhere to be found. They can't find him. He's not on the premises. They didn't know that. And it was very long, quiet secret. But was aware that Aegon and Aemon have both fled. And so Lars had left a bit of a gift for Rhaenyra and Daemon, should they have ever returned to the Red Keep. And it was Sir Otto Hightower, Alicent's father, but what was originally, at least what Rhaenyra knows, was the hand of Aegon. Well, damn. This is turning very quickly. And so they bring Otto into the Iron Throne. He is placed on his knees, and Daemon's like, well, you got it. We got it. Aegon's not here. The next person to kill, with Aegon not being there, would be the hand. And this would sort of count as the person you need to kill to take over being queen. Now, here's the interesting thing. It's clear that they may not be aware that the hand transferred from Otto to Cole. I don't think that was a known thing worldwide. I don't know if the timing had happened enough where it got out there. I feel like that's going to come back to bite them, because removing Otto doesn't change the fact that Cole was still actually the person that was the hand. And so Aegon being alive, that this is all getting a little bit messy in how all of this is happening. But anyway, they are not aware of that. They think that Otto was the hand. And so they bring Otto in. Otto's kind of like, your father would be so disappointed that this is what has occurred to everybody right now. And she doesn't really want to do it. She has no desire to do it. But Daemon is doing that like sweet nothing whispering in her ear to get her to be like, if you don't do this in front of all of these folks, you won't be the queen. Like, this isn't your thing. And so she strikes at Otto. Originally, she closes her eyes to do it, and she kind of like stabs him in the across between the shoulder blades. And then she does the second one and actually beheads him. And then Daemon quickly goes and beheads Jasper, who was also present. And so now the floor is theirs to take over the kingdom. And so she, in the pool of Otto's blood, takes bloody footprints, which has to be ominous, bloody footprints, and takes her seat at the Iron Throne. And all seems to be well. Until we learn that Alicent and Helena did not make it out of the Red Keep in time because of all the delays. They did not make it out in time. And then they're brought into the courtyard. I mean, they are brought into the Iron Throne, and they see Rhaenyra on the throne, the bloody footprints, and then her father, Otto, beheaded at the foot. And she looks up at Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra looks at her. And that is how the episode ends. Jesus! Because Allison had done all of this because she felt and believed in Rhaenyra. Like, hey, our friendship, our love, this is this. And then to see that Rhaenyra, to get this, beheaded Otto. Now, Allison does not know that Rhaenyra is probably not aware that Otto is no longer the hand. And so killing him makes sense for the kingdom, but it didn't make sense overall because Cole is the person that she needed to take over. So this was just a useless kill. And Lars, being that 30 mother he is, set everybody up. And so Aegon is still rightfully the king of this place because the right hand of him was not the one that was killed. Aemon will return, but like whatever sort of trust that Allison had in Rhaenyra is now gone. But here's the problem. Allison has also burned any sort of connection that she has at the Red Keep. Like no one's going to believe her. Like you put this into motion. So now we don't believe you either. And so this is going to be messy, and I am here for it. This season is already doing things better action-wise and character-wise than I think any of the first two seasons. Now, you needed the groundwork to get here, but the payoff is sort of starting to happen now, and I'm here for it. I'm excited to see what these next 6 episodes do and to sort of see how there's going to come a loss of this throne. Like there's too many people in that Red Keep who do not believe in her. And so like, yeah, she's there, but can she sleep with her eyes closed? Probably not. And at what cost does all of this sort of come to a head? I'm now excited to watch House of the Dragon again, which is something that I have not felt in quite some time with the Game of Thrones franchise. What did you guys think about this second episode of House of the Dragon called Queen's Landing? Go ahead and leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on X at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name. That's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that plays podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.